Everyone said Mr. Raymond Cole was lucky. At 71, he lived in a wide, quiet mansion at the edge of the city. High gates, clean floors, soft lights, and armed guards made the place look safe. Very safe. People said he had everything a man could want. But on that night, Raymond sat alone in his living room, listening to the clock tick. Tick, tick, tick. The sound felt loud in the empty house. His wife, Eleanor, had died 11 years ago. Since then, the mansion had felt cold. Raymond had workers, drivers, cooks, and guards, but none of them stayed after sunset to ask how he felt. None of them shared dinner stories or quiet laughter. Raymond had built his wealth from nothing. He had failed many times before success came. Eleanor stayed with him through hunger and shame. Losing her had taken something deep from him. Now his only son, Victor, lived abroad. That night, Raymond stood up slowly and walked past rooms filled with expensive furniture that meant nothing. He whispered, "A house should not feel like a grave." The next morning, his younger brother, Martin, visited with a bright smile. "You shouldn't live like this," Martin said. "You need someone." Raymond laughed softly. He didn't know those words would change his life forever. Martin came often after that. He sat close to Raymond, spoke gently, and acted like a caring brother. He brought food, stories, and advice. He always spoke about loneliness. "One day you may fall sick," Martin said. "Who will help you?" Raymond always answered the same way. "God will help me." But the words felt weaker each time. One afternoon, Martin leaned forward and said, "I found someone for you." Raymond laughed. "Stop joking. She is young, kind, and respectful," Martin continued. "She understands older men." Raymond frowned. "How old?" Martin paused. 26. Raymond stood up. "No, that is wrong." But Martin didn't stop. He showed pictures. The woman smiled softly. Her name was Lila. "She wants peace, not love games," Martin said. "She will care for you." Raymond didn't answer. Pressure came from everywhere. Friends, family, even church elders. They all said the same thing. Loneliness kills faster than illness. Weeks later, Raymond agreed to meet Lila. She spoke softly. She listened closely. She called him sir with respect. Against his better judgment, Raymond felt comfort. 3 months later, they married. People cheered. Cameras flashed. They called him a lucky old man. Raymond tried to believe them. Life changed after the wedding. Lila woke early and served Raymond tea herself. She smiled often and held his hand when visitors came. People said Raymond looked younger. Raymond bought her clothes, jewelry, and a new car. He did not count money. He believed kindness would bring loyalty. At first, Lila played her role well. But Raymond noticed small things. She stayed long on her phone. She ended calls quickly when he entered. She laughed loudly at Martin's jokes. Too loudly. Martin began visiting almost every day. "You chose well," Martin said often. "She is a blessing." At night, Lila avoided Raymond's room. She said she was tired. Raymond did not force her. He told himself he was old. One evening, Raymond sat reading when he heard laughter from the living room. Lila and Martin. The laughter sounded private. Raymond closed his book. "Thank you for today," Lila said softly. "Anything for you," Martin replied. A door closed. Raymond's chest felt tight. That night, sleep did not come. He remembered Eleanor's voice, her honesty, her warmth. The next morning, Raymond said quietly, "My eyes are failing." Lila only nodded. Martin smiled too quickly. Something was wrong. Over the next days, Raymond acted weak. He bumped into chairs. He asked for help finding things he already knew. He wore dark glasses indoors. Lila's patience faded. She sighed often. She spoke sharply when she thought he could not see. One night, Raymond called a trusted security man. "I want cameras," Raymond said calmly. "Hidden. Everywhere." "Sir, is there danger?" the man asked. Raymond paused. "I need the truth." The cameras were installed quietly. Raymond continued pretending. The truth did not take long. One afternoon, Raymond lay on the couch, breathing slowly. Lila entered. Martin followed. "He is getting worse," Lila whispered. "Good," Martin replied. "He depends on us now." "How long?" Lila asked. "Not long," Martin said. Raymond's fingers twitched, but he stayed still. That night Raymond cried alone. Not because of Lila, but because of Martin, the brother he trusted, the man who pushed him into this marriage. Raymond wiped his face. "They think I am blind," he whispered. "But I see everything." A week later, Raymond noticed the house growing quiet. No cook, no driver, no cleaners. "Where is everyone?" Raymond asked. "I sent them away," Lila said calmly. "I will take care of you." Raymond's heart dropped. "What about the driver?" he asked. "Martin will handle that," Lila smiled. That night, Raymond watched the camera feed. Lila and Martin sat close. Too close. They kissed. "Old men are easy," Lila laughed. "Soon," Martin said, "everything will be ours." Raymond closed his eyes slowly. The house he thought was safe had become a cage. Later, Raymond called his son. "Victor," he said softly. "I am in danger." Victor shouted. "I am coming home." "No," Raymond said. "Wait. I need proof." After the call, Raymond sat in the dark. He was no longer just lonely. He was fighting to survive. Raymond did not sleep that night. He sat on his bed, fully dressed, listening to every sound in the house. The walls that once felt strong now felt thin. Every footstep echoed in his mind. The next morning, Lila brought his breakfast late. She placed the tray down without care. "Eat," she said. Raymond touched the food lightly. He smiled weakly. "Thank you, my dear." She did not smile back. Later that day, Martin walked in freely, like the house belonged to him. He did not greet Raymond properly. "You should rest more," Martin said. "Old age is catching up." Raymond nodded slowly. "You are right." Inside, his heart burned. That evening, Raymond pretended to nap in his study. Through half-closed eyes, he saw Lila enter. She checked his breathing. Then she smiled. "He is sleeping," she whispered. Martin followed her in. "He is becoming a burden," Lila said. "Not for long," Martin replied. Raymond felt a cold chill run through his body. After they left, Raymond stood slowly and locked the study door. He watched the camera footage again and again. There was no doubt. They were planning something. Raymond whispered, "Eleanor, give me strength." For the first time, he understood the truth. Luck had nothing to do with survival. The next 2 days passed slowly. Raymond acted weaker than before. He dropped his spoon. He asked the same questions twice. He walked slower. Lila's care turned into anger. "You stress me," she snapped one morning. "I am sorry," Raymond replied softly. Martin watched everything with calm eyes. That night, Raymond heard whispers from the kitchen. He moved quietly and listened from the hallway. "I am tired of this," Lila said. "I want freedom." "Soon," Martin answered. "We must be careful." "Careful how?" she asked. "The medicine," Martin said. "His blood pressure pills." Raymond's breath stopped. "What about them?" Lila whispered. "We change them slowly," Martin replied. "A little at a time. Doctors will blame age." Lila was silent for a moment. Then she laughed. "That is smart." Raymond pressed his hand against the wall to stay steady. Later, alone in his room, Raymond shook. This was not just betrayal. This was murder. He recorded everything. Every word. Every plan. He called his lawyer quietly that night and said only one sentence. "Prepare everything." When he lay down, Raymond stared at the ceiling. "They want me gone," he whispered. "But I am still alive." And as long as he lived, he would not surrender. The next morning, Lila brought Raymond his pills. Her smile was sweet. Too sweet. "Did you take your medicine?" she asked. "Yes," Raymond lied. He had already switched the pills earlier, using a hidden spare set he kept locked away. Lila watched him closely. Good. Raymond felt her eyes on him long after she left. That afternoon, Martin entered Raymond's room without knocking. You should sign some papers, Martin said. What papers? Raymond asked. Business things, Martin replied quickly. Just in case. Raymond reached for the papers with shaking hands. I cannot see well, he said. Read them. Martin hesitated, then smiled. Later. That night, Raymond sent copies of the camera footage to a secure drive. He labeled the files with dates and times. Proof. He also sent a short message to Victor. They are trying to poison me. I am safe for now. Wait for my signal. Victor replied quickly. I trust you, Father. Raymond closed his eyes. For the first time since Eleanor died, he felt purpose again. Fear was still there, but fear no longer controlled him. The house was dangerous, but Raymond was no longer blind. 2 nights later, Raymond pretended to collapse. He fell slowly onto the couch, knocking over a glass. Lila screamed. Raymond! Martin rushed in. What happened? Martin asked. He fainted, Lila said, panic in her voice. Raymond stayed still, breathing softly. Martin checked his pulse. He is weak, he said. Very weak. They carried him to the bedroom. Raymond heard everything. We must hurry, Lila whispered. He is close. Yes, Martin said. Tomorrow. Raymond's heart pounded. The next morning, Lila brought food again. Raymond smelled it and knew. Something was wrong. What is this? He asked. Eat, Lila replied sharply. Raymond shook his head slowly. I cannot. Lila slammed the tray down. If you want to die, then die, she snapped. Martin stood behind her, silent. Raymond felt a strange calm. This was the moment. That night, Raymond pressed a hidden button under his desk. The signal was sent. The trap was set. All he had to do now was wait. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Lila and Martin sat in the living room, whispering. Raymond watched them through the camera feed. This ends tonight, Lila said. Yes, Martin replied. By morning, everything changes. Raymond stood slowly and put on his glasses. He walked into the hallway, tapping his stick. My dear wife, he called weakly. I need water. Lila rolled her eyes and stood up. Martin smirked. Raymond turned and walked back to his room. Minutes later, the front gate opened quietly. Footsteps entered the house. Lila froze. What is that? She whispered. The door burst open. Victor stepped in with 2 officers and Raymond's lawyer. Lila screamed. Martin backed away. Raymond removed his glasses. His eyes were clear. I was never blind, he said calmly. The room fell silent. You called me lucky, Raymond continued. But luck did not save me. Truth did. The room felt frozen after Raymond spoke. Lila's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Martin stepped back, his face pale. Victor stood firm beside the officers, his eyes locked on his uncle. You lied, Lila whispered. You said you were blind. Raymond's voice was calm. I said my eyes were weak. I never said I could not see. Martin laughed nervously. This is a mistake. You are confused. Raymond nodded slowly. I was confused once. Not anymore. He turned to the officers. Everything is recorded. The lawyer stepped forward and placed a folder on the table. Video. Audio. Dates. Times. Lila fell into a chair. You tricked us. Raymond looked at her. You planned to kill me. Martin shouted. You have no proof. Victor pressed a button on his phone. The room filled with voices from the recordings. Lila's laugh. Martin's plan. The poison. Silence followed. The officers moved forward. As Martin was handcuffed, he looked at Raymond with anger. You ruined everything. Raymond replied quietly. You ruined yourself. Lila began to cry, but Raymond did not look at her. Tears no longer moved him. The police took Martin away first. Lila screamed and begged. holding onto the couch. "Raymond, please." I was confused. Raymond stood still. "You were clear enough to poison me." She reached for him. Victor stepped between them. "Don't touch my father," Victor said sharply. The officers returned for Lila. As they led her out, she turned back. "You used me," Raymond answered softly. "You used yourself." The door closed. The house became quiet again. Victor sat beside his father. "I am sorry I was not here sooner." Raymond placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "You came when it mattered." That night, Raymond slept deeply for the first time in months. The next days were filled with questions, reports, and news. The story spread fast. "They called him a lucky old man," people said again. But he was smarter than all of them. Raymond fired the remaining guards and rehired his old staff. Life slowly returned to the house. One afternoon, Raymond stood in the garden. "It almost ended here," he said. Victor replied, "But it didn't." Raymond smiled faintly. "Luck had nothing to do with it." Weeks passed. Martin was charged. Lila faced trial. Raymond attended none of it. He stayed home, rebuilding peace. Victor decided to return for good. "I don't want this house to be quiet again," he said. Raymond agreed. One evening, Victor asked, "Do you regret marrying her?" Raymond thought for a long moment. "No," he said. "It showed me who to trust." He paused. "And who not to." Raymond donated part of his wealth to help elderly people who lived alone. "This should never happen again," he told the press. At night, Raymond sat where Eleanor used to sit. "I survived," he whispered. He no longer felt haunted. The house felt safe again. But he knew the truth. Danger does not always come from outside. Sometimes it sleeps under the same roof. Months later, the mansion looked brighter. Staff laughed again. Music played softly. Victor handled business matters with care. Raymond walked without his stick now. One morning, Raymond removed the cameras. He no longer needed them. Trust had returned. Not easily, but honestly. Raymond visited Eleanor's grave. "I did not replace you," he said softly. "I almost lost myself trying." He stood tall. Age had not weakened him. It had sharpened him. Back home, Raymond locked the gate behind him. He looked at the house and smiled. It was no longer dangerous. It was home again. People still talked about Raymond Cole. Some called him lucky. Others called him wise. Raymond called himself alive. He learned that loneliness can push people into danger, and trust must be earned, not forced. At 71, Raymond found peace. Not through marriage, but through truth. The house slept quietly that night, and for the first time in a long while, so did he. Peace did not return all at once. Even after the arrests, Raymond woke up many nights sweating. Every sound made him alert. The mind does not forget danger easily. Victor noticed. "You still don't sleep well," Victor said one morning. Raymond nodded. "Safety is not a switch. It takes time." The house was full again, but Raymond remained careful. He checked doors twice. He listened closely to voices. Trust, once broken, grows slowly. One afternoon, Raymond received a letter. It was from prison. "Martin." Raymond stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. "I never meant to hurt you," the letter read. "I only wanted what you had." Raymond folded the letter quietly. Wanting something did not excuse destroying a brother. That night, Raymond burned the letter. Some things did not deserve answers. But even as life seemed calm, Raymond sensed something else. Danger does not always leave. Sometimes it changes shape. The trial drew crowds. Lila blamed Martin. Martin blamed Lila. Raymond watched none of it. Victor followed everything closely and reported only facts. "They are both trying to escape guilt," Victor said. Raymond nodded. Truth does not need shouting. One evening, Raymond's lawyer visited. "There may be others involved," the lawyer warned. Money moved before the plan failed. Raymond stiffened. "Others?" "Yes," the lawyer said. "Small amounts. Hidden paths." That night, Raymond checked old records. Someone else had been watching him. Someone patient. Raymond realized something chilling. Lila and Martin were not smart enough alone. They had help, and that helper might still be free. The house lights flickered once. Raymond stood up straight. "I am not done yet," he whispered. Security was increased again. Victor stayed close. Raymond returned the cameras. 3 nights later, a shadow appeared near the gate. The guard called out. The figure ran. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was damaged. But the message was clear. Someone was testing the house. Raymond sat calmly afterward. "They think I am tired," he said. "They are wrong." Victor asked, "Are you afraid?" Raymond shook his head. "I am awake." The next day, Raymond set a quiet plan. He leaked false information about moving money. Within hours, someone tried to access his accounts. The trap worked. The helper was caught. A former business rival. Greed had joined betrayal. Once again, the house returned to silence. This time, real silence. Raymond smiled softly. Not all threats come from love. Some come from envy. And all must be faced. Months passed without trouble. Raymond grew stronger. He walked daily. He laughed again. Victor took full control of the company. "Rest," Victor said. "You earned it." Raymond agreed. One evening, Raymond invited friends for dinner. The house was warm. Voices filled the air. Raymond raised his glass. "I learned something," he said. "Luck fades. Wisdom stays." Everyone nodded. Later that night, Raymond sat alone in his study. Not lonely, just quiet. He looked at the empty chair across from him and smiled. "I survived," he whispered. Not because he was lucky, but because he chose to see it on Raymond's 72nd birthday. The house glowed. Victor surprised him with a simple gift. A book. On the cover were words. "The house that tried to kill me." Raymond laughed for the first time in years. "This house failed," he said. Victor smiled. "Because you didn't." That night, Raymond slept peacefully. The gates were locked. The lights were steady. The danger was gone. And if it ever returned, Raymond would be ready. Time continued to move forward. Raymond learned that healing did not mean forgetting. Some memories stayed, but they no longer controlled him. He stopped waking in fear. The house no longer felt like a trap. One afternoon, Raymond sat with Victor on the balcony. "I used to think strength meant standing alone," Raymond said. Victor looked at him. "And now I know strength also means knowing when to let others stand with you." Victor nodded. Raymond began meeting people again. Not for marriage. Not for business. Just for conversation. He laughed more. The mansion no longer echoed. It breathed. At night, Raymond left his door open. For the first time in years, he did not feel the need to lock himself inside. The house had tested him, and he had passed. One quiet evening, Raymond received another letter. This time it was from Lila. He did not open it. He placed it in a drawer and locked it. Some chapters were already closed. Raymond chose peace. Victor watched him carefully. "Are you okay?" Raymond smiled. "Better than okay." That night, Raymond dreamed of Eleanor. She stood beside him, calm and smiling. "You are safe," she said. When Raymond woke, he felt light. The house felt warm. He walked through every room slowly, touching the walls. "This place tried to break me," he said softly. "But it failed." Raymond decided to tell his story publicly. Not for fame, for warning. He spoke to elderly groups, teaching them to be careful with trust. "Loneliness is dangerous," he said. "But blind trust is worse." People listened. Some cried. Some thanked him. Raymond found purpose again. His story saved others. And that mattered. Years later, Raymond still lived in the same house. But it no longer scared him. It reminded him. Every corner held lessons. Every door held memory. Victor married and brought his family often. Children's laughter filled the halls. The house became alive again. Raymond sat quietly, watching joy return. He smiled. They once called him a lucky old man. But luck did not save Raymond Cole. Awareness did. Courage did. Wisdom did. The house that once became the most dangerous place to sleep became a symbol of survival. Raymond rested peacefully that night, not because danger never existed, but because he faced it and lived.